A very warm welcome to this pretty apt ringside special on Halloween week.
I love this time of year. Dark lights, spooky atmosphere.
In front of an audience here at Sky Studios, arch enemies Nathan Cleverly and Tony Bellew come face to face.
So who is going to scare who?
It's going to be a long, painful night.
I've spanked him once, and I'm going to spank him again.
The sport of boxing revels in rivalries. This time last year, we had extreme tension on set between Carl Froch and George Groves.
Yeah, just last week we had George Groves trying to wind up James DeGale. I think he almost got away with it.
Think you did?
Sort of.
There's simply no love lost between this feuding pair as we draw ever closer to their highly anticipated rematch.
Welcome, boys. In the ring there early on, the atmosphere was a little tense. Nathan, it's probably going to be the last time you guys will be in the ring together until fight night.
3 weeks away, mate. 3 weeks away from the biggest fight of my life. And once and for all, we're going to get it on. And let's use the best man. You know, all this talk now, we've talked the talk. Let's see who can put it into action on November the 22nd, 3 weeks away.
Do you feel because you won 3 years ago that you are the better man despite what weight it's at?
I am the better fighter. I am the better fighter. You know, I beat him once at 24 years of age, going into his hometown. 24 years of age, going into his hometown. And I'm going to do it again. Repeat, I am going to do this again. And this time it's going to be more emphatic.
Tony, when you were in the ring, you were sort of shaking your head like, you know what, I don't want to be here. Is that the feeling now?
There's no point. No, I just don't see the point. I understand why we're here. I understand what we've got to do, but this leads places, and you know, it's as simple as that. It leads places that people don't want to see in boxing. It's as simple as that. You know, we want to keep it as a sport and an honourable thing, but you carry on pushing buttons, the wrong buttons are going to get pushed.
Do you have respect for Nathan Cleverly as
No.
a fighter?
No, none at all.
Why?
He knows why. I'm not going to harp on about it. Everyone knows why. I don't respect anything about him or nothing. So, like I say, you don't respect someone, you fight, and that's it.
Do you respect Tony Bellew as a fighter?
No chance. No chance, you know. I don't respect him as a fighter, again. I don't respect him as a person. And this is why it's such a heated rivalry. It's a grudge match, it's personal, we've got a history. The first fight was good, this second fight's going to be better.
I'm trying to find reasons why you two are so feisty with each other the last time. Last time you both had to struggle to make light heavyweight.
No, we didn't both have a struggle, Johnny, to make light heavyweight. Someone got on the scales with a smile on the face. Someone got on the scales on the verge of cracking up and going nuts. And it was always the same getting on scales. So just let's keep it correct. We both didn't get on the scales and it's happy days. I don't smile on scales. I get on scales when I was making 175 and it wasn't good. Everyone knows that and everyone can see it. He got on the scales and had a great time. Smiles, happiness. I don't get on scales when I was making 175 with a smile.
Is this true, Nathan? Did you make the weight easy?
Initially, I made the weight easy. Towards the end, I started struggling. There's no doubt. You know, I've come up from welterweight. Over the years, I was a young light heavyweight. I've come up through the weights. It's natural progression. Now I'm here at cruiserweight. Naturally, I was going through the weights properly, and here I am as a proper cruiserweight. Here he is, as you know, he's a cruiserweight, but look at the shape on him. You know, I'm an athlete at this weight. This guy's not.
We're on to this one again, the athlete, the old athlete. You know what? Athletes don't win boxing matches.
I won the first
Athletes
fight,
don't
mate.
win boxing
He won me
matches.
the
If
first fight.
athletes won boxing
Won me the
matches,
first
lad,
fight.
Juan Diaz would never be world
Won me
champion.
the first
The
fight.
guy's a multiple weight world champion. It had nothing to do with you being an athlete. Nothing to do
That's
with
all
you
you
being
got,
an
mate,
athlete.
is your power, and even that's
Yeah.
not great.
We'll
Even that
see.
is not great.
We'll see. We'll
You
stop
caught me-
talking about it then.
you caught me
If it's not great, stop talking about it then.
It's not.
The original reason why for the questioning was because at light heavyweight, when you're both struggling to get down to weight, it makes you spiteful, it makes you angry. You guys went through 12 hard rounds together. You think two fighters that did that, they'd have a little bit of
Someone did
respect.
show respect. Someone did show respect, but it wasn't shown back. So, you know, it swings both ways. If it's not swung both ways, then there's afterthoughts and that bad taste left in your mouth. And let me just get this off my chest. It's gone beyond the bad taste in the mouth.
Is that true, Nathan? Did you handle it correctly after the fight?
Initially, there was respect. Straight out the final bell, there was respect. When we embraced, there was respect. He knew he was in the hardest fight of his life.
So did you.
He even said that at the final bell. In the after-fight interview, there was respect. There was plenty of respect. But then it goes back to suit. You know, if days and weeks go on, and you eventually find yourself, hear what he's got to say, you're hoping his mouth again, once again, hoping his big mouth.
You're the one who started talking
And
after the press conference. You started talking
that way it
first.
starts again.
I showed the respect, like I say.
Initially.
My mistake.
Initially.
I showed respect straight away after it. My mistake. Won't happen again. Will not happen again.
But both of you are training so hard, so despite the fact you don't respect each other, maybe as fighters or as men, you've got to look at the dangers that you both bring into the ring,
Well,
what Tony does well and what Nathan does well.
This is what I'm slated for. Everybody slates, media, antagonists, clowns. Tony Bellew says this, he's willing to die in the ring. That's what can happen in boxing. That is the honest truth. That is the worst case scenario of what can happen in boxing. It's like car racing. You get in a car, you race, you do 200 miles an hour in a car. You know what can happen if that car crashes. Boxing is no different. If it goes wrong, you know what happens. So media want to jump on me back saying this and that. That's the bad cases of boxing. It happens, Adam.
But Tony, what I'm saying is the skills that Nathan brings, the speed up through the weights.
To cruiserweight.
You must be looking at that, you and Dave Colwell, your trainer, and saying that this is dangerous, this.
Dave's the coach, that's his job. He looks at them videos. I stopped looking at videotapes after I boxed Isaac Chilemba, if the truth be known. You know, you watch somebody on videotape and you study their every move, and then all of a sudden you get in with them, you hit them for the first time, and they ain't the person you've studied. It's as simple as that, and it happens in boxing. It's happened to me on too many occasions.
What about Tony? What does he do well in the ring that you've got to be careful about?
I respect his power, you know, especially at cruiserweight. Apparently, he's this much bigger puncher at cruiserweight. I felt his power at light heavyweight. He caught me clean at light heavyweight. He had no effect at light heavyweight. That's the truth of the matter. He had no effect on me at light heavyweight. So what is going to be the difference at cruiserweight? Has he become this King Kong puncher overnight? We'll see. We'll see. And he's going to connect clean at some point in that fight.
Oh, we can guarantee that.
And
we
at
can
some point,
absolutely guarantee
just like in the first fight,
that.
I'm going to brush it off and I'm going to come back
Keep telling yourself that.
and beat this
Keep
guy
telling
down.
yourself that.
what's in your favour, technique or power?
Technique. Technique overrules power all day long. The right technique automatically produces power. No good in having power with no technique because it won't be there. We both know, Johnny, you know boxing. If you've got poor technique, it will show. If you throw punches for the sake of throwing punches, it's not going to have any effect. I throw punches with nasty and evil intentions. He throws 500 punches just to score shots. We're totally different.
Technique or power?
It's an old list of attributes you've got to show in that ring. You know, you can have good technique, but I've seen a lot of fighters with good technique get beat. A lot of fighters with good power because they haven't got the other attributes. I got the speed, the boxing skills, the counter punching, and the range of shots. My range of shots is a lot better than his range of shots.
You took his best shots at light heavyweight. Now he's gone up a lot more. Do you think you'll be able to do that at cruiserweight?
Most certainly, and even better at this weight. Even better at this weight. You know, he's this so-called big cruiserweight, but I'm bringing up the speed from the lower weights. I'm more energy. I'm fitter. I've got a good chin. How is this guy going to beat me? He has to knock me out. This guy has to knock me out to win.
He doesn't have to knock you out at all. I've shown different attributes to my game. I can box at long range, I can box at short range, I can box on the back foot, the front foot. You just give me one fight, one example where you've boxed on the back foot. You give me one, just one example. You give me one example of where you haven't walked forward and outworked someone. You just give me one fight where you haven't done that. Not one.
I've shown a range of different styles.
You've shown one style in your whole
Commonwealth,
career.
British, European.
And you've done it all with one style. Fair play to you. Fair play to you. You've done it all with one style. You've got to look at it, mate. You've fought for every single title that's been vacant. You've never defeated a champion. Never. Never defeated the champion.
I defeated you.
Never did. I wasn't a champion. I was a 16-fight novice. It wasn't hard to beat me. Oval Mackenzie nearly beat me.
That's all that matters.
Oval Mackenzie nearly beat me 2 fights before me. Oval Mackenzie had me on the floor before you did.
I can live happily ever after. That's all that matters.
I'm sure you can. You're going to live happily ever after on November the 22nd when I've smashed you from pillar to post.
Dream on.
Dream on, mate. Keep going, mate.
Dream on.
Keep talking. You're going to live happily ever after that.
Yeah. Spanked again. 2-0.
We'll see.
2-0.
We'll see. Actions speak louder than words. Like I said, there's no point in sitting here talking, pipe down.
I've already said that.
Pipe down. We've already gone on, you know, actions speak louder than words. November the 22nd, yeah, we'll see.
Mouthpiece.
Pipe down, son. We'll see November the 22nd. Yeah, yeah. Do you really believe that, though?
Yes,
Once again, you don't. So if you really believed you'd won that night, why was you jumping all around the ring when the referee raised your hand? A man who knows he's won does what something like... You raise your hand. Yeah, it was a good, easy night. The fact is, you jumped all around because you didn't know what decision. You didn't know the decision before that fight.
You know you lost that fight.
You didn't know
you lost that fight.
I didn't. I was respectful. I was respectful. I didn't know I lost that fight. Well, why did I ask you then when we embraced? Who do you think's got that?
No, you didn't.
The exact words I said to you. Once again, I don't tell lies. You do.
The exact words. Forget doing that again. Forget doing that again.
Mate. Keep telling yourself that. If that's what you heard, mate, keep telling yourself that.
That's what I know.
You didn't hear that. You didn't hear that. You didn't. You can't have. Didn't happen.
You said that to me.
Didn't.
Yeah, and you know you did. Yeah, you know you did, mate.
How do our audience feel about this electricity on set? Ed, where are you?
Just over here, yeah. Well, let's involve the audience a bit, get a few questions from the crowd. Liam, first of all, what's your question?
Yes, sir, to Tony. Obviously, Kovalev has beat Nathan, known as a big puncher. Yes. Do you feel you've got that big puncher? You're a better puncher than him?
In all honesty, Liam, mate, I'm not Sergei Kovalev. If I was Sergei Kovalev, you know, the world would look a very different place. But I can see what you're getting at. The point is, listen, he's going on, I'm this big crazy puncher. I've never come out and said I'm this big one-punch hitter or detonator. I was nicknamed the Bomber by a guy in a social club when I was 17 years old, knocking out people as an amateur. And I'm not talking just dropping them. I was putting people to sleep with 10-ounce pillows on, the Green Hill gloves and head guards. That's why I was nicknamed. I've never once come out and said, I can wipe anyone out with one punch. I'm much more than that. And I'll show that come fight night. Sergei Kovalev, for me, is just a puncher. And, you know, he is what he is. A fantastic puncher at that, though, I'll give him that.
A question from Ben here on a similar kind of theme.
Yeah, it was just going over to the fight between Bernard Hopkins and Kovalev. You might have been there at one stage against Bernard, so how do you reckon it's going to go this on November the 8th? Leicester Nathan.
I believe Sergei Kovalev will win that fight in style. I just think Kovalev, there's a few fighters that stand out for me. Sergei Kovalev, Gennady Golovkin, they're a different breed, absolute different breed. I think mid to late rounds. I think Hopkins will mess him about early on, but at some point Kovalev is gonna land clean, and he's a different breed. And him and Gennady Golovkin, those two are different breeds.
I'm here with Jamie. You want to put Johnny on the spot, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Johnny, since the lads have now moved up to your old weight, how would they compare against you in your heyday?
These boys were never original cruiserweights. I'm an original cruiserweight through and through, so I don't think it had been an even fight. Sorry, boys. Sorry. What? That's what you think.
Lee, have you got a question as well?
Yeah, where would Tony put Nathan in the world rankings and vice versa?
Do you know what? It's a hard question. It's a really good question, that, but I'll be honest, I don't do rankings, and I've never really been wanted to look at rankings and start ranking people where they are in the world. And all as I just say is we're two cruiserweights destined to fight. That's the best thing I could say. We both have proven we belong at world level. But what the numbers are on that, I couldn't honestly tell you. I'd be telling lies if I put a number on it, sorry.
I just want to pick up on the Kovalev Hopkins thing. Who do you think wins that?
Hopkins.
Do you?
The best matchmaker for himself in boxing. You've got to give it... Now, basically, the best way to look at this fight is he was given a list of 3 opponents he could have fought. Adonis Stevenson, Najib Muhammad is mandatory for the IBF title, or he fights Sergey Kovalev. He chooses to fight Sergey Kovalev. Why does he choose to fight Sergey Kovalev? You'll find out when he fights. He chooses.
I fought Mohammedi. I fought him when I was 23.
In Liverpool.
In Liverpool.
Yeah.
Tricky fight, but I won the fight. He's now mandatory to fight Bernard Hopkins. And I fought him and Kovalev. Kovalev is a different animal to Mohammedi, so he wouldn't. If he could have, he would have fought Mohammedi over Kovalev.
He had the choice to fight Stevenson. Why not fight Stevenson?
Oh, come on.
He chose Kovalev. You know why he didn't fight Stevenson? Because Stevenson just ices people in one round. He's capable of it. Something that, now, can you give me one elite fighter Kovalev has smashed? I can give you a couple of elite fighters Stevenson has done it to. Elite. Let's remember, he's ruined Chad Dawson's career. Not just Kovalev has... Who has Kovalev ruined?
I'm telling you now, Kovalev would wipe the floor with Adonis Stevenson. Trust me on this.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. That's why Bernard Hopkins.
So you go Kovalev, you go Hopkins. You can't agree with anything.
I go Hopkins.
Meanwhile, Ed rounds up the rest of the week's news.
Yeah, it was a busy weekend for British boxing with 3 significant shows on Saturday night.
On Friday night, prizefighter winner Waddy Camacho was disqualified, accused of biting undefeated opponent Craig Kennedy in Wales. The following evening, there were big shows in Liverpool, Hull and in Monte Carlo. On Merseyside, Thomas Stalker became the first Team GB London 2012 boxer to lose his unbeaten record as a pro, stopped by the promising Jack Catterall. Derry Matthews, Paul Butler, Liam Smith, Liam Williams and Chris Eubank Jr. all won on the card. And Kevin Satchell picked up the European flyweight title. In Hull, Gavin McDonnell made a massive step up in class, a good one, against Vusi Malinga.
Good right hand from McDonnell, and Malinga's fell down, turned his back and gone down. That right hand did the damage.
Gavin!
There it is. There's confirmation of a professional job, brilliantly done by Gavin McDonnell.
Tommy Coyle and Luke Campbell remained on collision course with really impressive wins.
Tagged with another left hand and stopped. Done in 5.
Olympic gold medalist Campbell outclassing Daniel Brizuela, while Coyle knocked out the veteran tough guy Michael Katsidis with a single left hook.
Knocked him out, flattened him, destroyed him. What a counter! Don't know what he's up. I don't know how he's up. He's out. He's totally out. He can't go on. What a stoppage! What a performance from Tommy Coyle out of nowhere. He flattened Michael Katsidis, one of the toughest men in the game.
Well done, Tommy, for tonight. Fantastic performance. All respect, mate. Listen, if the whole want to see me and you put performance on, that's what we'll do, mate. That's what we'll do.
100%. On the continent, St Helens middleweight Martin Murray set up a fight with feared middleweight king Gennady Golovkin on February 21st next year in Monte Carlo, after beating Domenico Spada. Also on that bill, the North East Stuart Hall lost a brave challenge against new star Randy Caballero. Staying at bantamweight, new father and WBA regular champion Jamie McDonnell defends his belt on the big Cleverly Bellew bill and has been promised a unification fight with Japan's Tomoki Kameda, who defends his WBO belt in America this weekend.
When I think about it, I get buzzing. They're the fights I want, unification fights, but I can't look past Ramos, you know, and I haven't seen no footage of him, do you know what I mean? So, obviously, I can't look past these fights. There's some big fights out there, but everything's going good and I'm flying.
Continuing with the baby theme, congratulations to Glenn McCrory and Nick Halling, who both became dads again this weekend with Aidan and Zach, 2 young sons. Congratulations.
Yeah, well done, Glenn McCrory. At 60 years old, didn't think it was possible. 60. Tony, I've seen you as a doting father at home. I see this side of you as a fighter. How do you manage to separate the two?
Put on the hats, like I always say. There's a half of the lunatic, there's a half of the dad, there's a half of the normal guy. You know, that's what it is. You just have to learn to deal with both things. No pressure is unlike family pressure and dealing with day-to-day children. Now that's where the real pressure is providing for them three.
That's a fight.
It's true with the kids, isn't it? But Nathan and Tony seem fueled by anger in the ring. How will they control their emotions? Find out next.
for Help the Heroes. I'm a donor to support that, and also the t-shirts that have been made for me by Dead Legacy, that all the profits of that is going to be going to Help the Heroes to help support the soldiers. I'm just ready for the 22nd of November. I'm fighting Hyundo Otake from Japan. A very tough fight. He's ranked number 3 by the IBF. It's another step up, and I'm looking forward to the challenge. Training's going well.
Yeah, it's always good to be part of the big shows, and to say this will definitely be one to remember, and to add a bonus that it's in Liverpool, so hopefully it'll be a good atmosphere, and as I say, I can put in another good performance and deliver.
It's a bit strange walking around with my face on the t-shirt, but no, I'm happy with what they've done, and if it brings in money to help support these soldiers that have been injured in battle, it's for a very, very good cause.
Some of the Gallagher stable have been out raising money for our heroes.
Yeah, good to see Scott Quigg and Callum Smith there. 2 more fighters on there. The big action-packed bill on November the 22nd.
That's right, Nathan Cleverly and Tony Bellew have been on fire so far. Split now only by promoter Eddie Hearn, here to tell us what these two are like to deal with, and also what's on offer throughout the bumper card on the 22nd of November.
Great to deal with. Great to deal with. I think they're both in a point in their career where they know what they want. You know, I've dealt with Tony for a long time, and ever since I started working with him, he's wanted the Nathan Cleverly fight badly. And when I started working with Nathan, he made it clear as well. He wanted that rematch as well. It's the biggest fight for both fighters out there, and I believe it's the biggest fight in the division. You know, when you look at the noise it's going to create, every champion is waiting for the winner of this fight.
They may not respect each other, but you respect the pair of them.
Yeah, of course. Listen, anyone who steps in the ring deserves a massive amount of respect. And, you know, it's one of them where when the fight finishes and the bell goes, generally you do see that moment of respect amongst each other. And I think we saw that between them for the first fight, but that can change quickly and things can make that change. But to me, they're both, you know, they're both idols, and they're both people who deserve a lot of respect because they're a credit to the sport.
You seem to find yourself in the hot seat between two feuding fighters. But what about the undercard of November the 22nd? Brilliant for any boxing fan.
Well, it's massive. You know, you've got 2 world title fights. Obviously, Scott Quigg fighting Otake is a big step up for him. You know, top-ranked fighter. You've got Jamie McDonnell, who is, I can say, terms have actually been agreed now for him to fight Kameda. Kameda fights this weekend. If Jamie can beat Alberto Ramos on the 22nd, he'll fight Kameda in a unification in his next fight. Callum Smith there's got a really, really tough fight against Serge Locker. You know, a guy who has had 2 losses on his record, Arthur Abraham and Sakio Bika, both in close fights. A massive step up for Callum. James DeGale is in a fight which I think is very, very risky against Marco Antonio Periban. You know, you saw Periban push Sakio Bika all the way and lose a tight decision to him. He's operated at a high level, and James DeGale is already mandatory challenger for the IBF. He didn't need that fight, but he wants it. George Groves back in action, you know, after the Rabras fight. He's fighting a mama's boy, Dennis Duglin, you know, who on paper looks like that should be a routine fight for George Groves.
And they're both claiming their chief support, aren't they?
They're both apparently all chief support, so we're just going to put Anthony Joshua before the two anyway. You know, he's in with Michael Sprott, you know, who I spoke to after the Bakhtov fight. I felt bad because I got our people to phone him up and say, look, did you see Joshua on Saturday night? Are you sure you still want this fight? And I think he was quite insulted. You know, he said, listen, I'm training hard for this fight. I've been in with a lot of quality heavyweights, and he believes he's going to beat him. Joshua is moving on at great pace, you know, but it's an absolute stacked card full of championship and defining nights for a lot of fighters. You know, Callum Smith we talked about earlier, looking at George Groves potentially, that's a WBC eliminator, but ultimately, you know, it's about these two, and I'm in a lucky place, a great job to put on a night like this for British boxing, but ultimately to put a rivalry together that people love to see. Sold out in 48 hours. I wish I had another 20,000 tickets.
Serious rivalry, isn't it? With all the war of words and nasty needle, there is, of course, still a fight to win. It may just come down to which of these warriors can keep their cool in the heat of battle, as Andy Scott explains. We must warn you, there is flash photography in this report.
Anger.
Who's taking the belts?
Is it a friend or foe to a professional athlete?
What? I was on the ball!
When Tony Bellew and Nathan Cleverly square off in Liverpool, will anger, hatred and bitterness replace calm and focus? Does anger help or hinder a sporting performance?
I guess if you look through some of the darker moments of a camp, that anger can help you get through some of the difficult times where you've got to get up and be motivated. But generally, when it's coming to the night of a fight, it can be distracting and also quite a tiring emotion, where really you want all of your energy focused on actually performance.
The bomber can be volatile.
No, listen, I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to do anything daft.
Let's do it right now. We can do it right now, you rat.
Wild and confrontational.
I'm trying to do an interview.
All you people doubting me, stick it up.
And doesn't lack in self-belief.
I'll fight him tomorrow. I'll go to Wales to fight him. I'll fight him in his garden. I'll fight anybody.
What character traits does Tony Bellew possess?
Well, from his media profile that we get to see, he's obviously an incredibly intense man. In the run-up to this fight, there certainly seems to be a huge amount of anger. Hate's quite a negative emotion. It's quite tiring, both mentally and physically, with the various stress hormones. On the other side, it can raise the heart rate, it can raise your breathing pattern, it can pump the blood round. So there can be benefits, and it may well be that he needs a certain element of hate into his opponent to get him to the right level of motivation to be able to train and then perform on the night.
I've already come to this hometown, Bellew's hometown, once. I've already beat this guy. Guess what? I'm going to do it again.
And what about Nathan?
Well, he's obviously got his degree in maths, which would indicate a certain amount of logic. He looks incredibly calm, he looks incredibly focused. So when you're dealing with somebody who's incredibly emotional, like Tony Bellew seems to be, that analytical mindset can allow him to stay calm and focus on his game plan.
Talk is cheap. Let's just shake and get this fight going.
No.
Let's just shake and get this fight going. Come on, man.
I won't. I refuse. No.
Let's have a head-to-head.
No. I'm happy to stand there and look at you all day, mate, because the eyes don't tell lies.
Yeah.
The eyes never lie.
How does pressure affect your personality?
So your personalities are generally quite stable. It's all of the layers that get added over to that in terms of how we want to be perceived, what other people think about us that get added. The pressure strips those away, and then what you're left with is your core. So it's important to be developing the correct personality to respond under pressure. So you want to be able to stay in control, you want to be able to stay focused, and you want to be able to execute your game plan.
Pressure's nothing. Getting in front of all thousands of people, I get a buzz out of it, I get a kick out of it. There's no pressure. Real pressure is dealing with a family day to day. That's pressure. Getting in a ring and smashing away at someone's face, that's a pleasure. It's not a pressure. It's something I like to do.
So who will keep it together when the eyes of the world are watching? Who will keep their cool? And who will lose it?
Interesting, isn't it? And what was really interesting was watching these two watch that.
I saw the boys, I saw you shaking your head, you had your head down. To me, I think the hatred can be used to intimidate or diffuse. Diffuse, and if you're that angry, you can't stick to a game plan. Did it work against you in the last fight?
Not being funny, but that fella describing my kind of media profile, he looked like he'd had about 20 fights, didn't he? The only fight he's done is trying to get in the queue at the Carvery. That's the only fight he looked like he'd had. So that's my opinion on him and his opinion on my mental capacity.
So why is he so wrong?
Why is he so wrong? Because he doesn't even know me from Adam. He doesn't know me at all, Adam. He hasn't got a clue anything about me. Does he know that I go home and look after 3 kids? Does he know that I train like a maniac? Does he know that I was losing 30 pounds, 40 pounds at camp? Did he know I'd lost 40 pounds before I was behaving like a lunatic? No, he doesn't. He just looks at me as a stat. He compares me to other people. Everybody is their own person and has their own mind. That guy's not worth a carrot.
Nathan, he mentioned you with your maths degree and the cool attitude you needed to have under pressure. Yeah. Do you agree with him? You take that attitude into the ring?
I thought it was a good insight. You know, he said it as it is. He said what it's like looking from the outside in. You know, and you can see, it's obvious to see. You know, he carries a lot of anger. Bellew, he carries a lot of anger, a lot of hate. And it's a negative emotion.
I carry no hate.
I disagree.
I carry no hate, but I carry no anger. I'm quite a happy man. It's only when I lay eyes on you. I'll do what I want. You can't tell me do nothing. I'll do exactly what I want. Don't tell me what to do. I don't carry no hate. I have no anger. Simple as that. I only have hate and anger when I lay eyes on you.
Can you just shut up for 1 moment, mate?
No, make me. Make me.
On the 22nd.
Make me. You're not going to do nothing. You couldn't do nothing. You're not going to do nothing. You're not going to do nothing. You're not. You're not.
What are you going to do?
Keep telling yourself you're not going to do a thing.
What are you going to do to me?
Just carry on talking to the gentleman.
Boys,
carry on talking to the gentleman.
This here is what that piece was all about. That's the first time you two have actually laid eyes on each other, apart from getting in the ring there, and I had to step in. what I'm saying is, what that guy's saying there, are you saying, you're saying talking rubbish, you're saying he's got it spot on?
Yeah, he is. And he doesn't like to hear this. He doesn't like to hear the facts because he's deluded. This guy is deluded.
One thing about me is I speak the truth.
He's delusional, this guy. He believes he won the first fight.
He's still going to retire?
He's deluded.
He's still going to retire?
He's deluded. And now he's telling us, an expert, a mental expert, that he's wrong.
A mental
expert? The guy is deluded.
I told him he's wrong about me. I didn't say his wrong analysis. I said he's wrong about me. He doesn't know me. How can he make a statement on me when he doesn't know me?
Because it's obvious.
Do you know why he makes a statement?
It's obvious to see.
Because he compares me to other people. That's how he makes a statement like he makes. He doesn't know me. He's never met me in his life.
But Tony, Nathan, is the key, though, to keep cool and in the ring on November the 22nd, the tactics are going to win you the fight, no?
Professional fighters, we got to deal with those pressures. It's as simple as that. We've got to deal with those pressures, and I'm sure we will. You know, if one of us lets these emotions get involved, then, you know, you don't deserve to be in there. Not at this experience, not at this level. It's the better fighter who can handle it the best, who can perform when we need to perform.
Would you agree with that for once?
Been there, seen it and done it many, many times. I've not been at this stadium, I've been in big fights, I've been to away turf. There's nothing I haven't really seen. In a short career, remember, a short career, I was sped up. My progression wasn't long. My progression wasn't in stages like it should have been. My progression was domestic level, boom, go and fight for a world title. That's how high I learned the hard way. My progression wasn't start from here and gradually creep up. My progression was fight over Mackenzie, fight for the WBO Championship of the World. That was my progression. Not fight over Mackenzie, fight for the Commonwealth title, fight for the European title, fight a world title eliminator. That wasn't my path. That path only happened when I went with this man on my left. That's when the right path was taken. That's how I had to learn.
Tom, we've seen from one extreme to the other. You seemed a little heated there. You analysed that really well. Is this calculated? This anger, this heat?
Johnny, like I say, I'm not. You see me away from this. I'm just a normal fella. Listen, I'm the same as everybody in this room. You guys look at me as if I'm a maniac. I'm the same as every one of you guys. I promise you that. The only difference between me is I get to punch people in the head instead of going to an office 9 to 5. It's the only difference. I feel the same things as you. I get emotions like you. I'm sure some of you guys work in an office in here, there might be someone 3 or 4 desks up who you cannot stand and you just can't bear to hear him. I know you're laughing because it happens. That's the way it is. The only difference with me is I get to do something about it, and that's what I'm happy about. And I also have to deal with the guy who I can't stand in the capacity that we're in now. So put yourself in my shoes. The guy who's 4 desks up from you in the office, he comes up and puts it on your toes. What do you want to do? That's me.
Tony, I'm lucky I get on with Johnny and I get on with Ed. Let's get back to you for some more audience reaction.
Well, I'm here with the smartly dressed Alex. What's your question, Alex?
It's a question to Nathan. Nathan, as the thinking man's boxer, you've conceded in recent interviews that Tony's got the power. Yeah. Don't you think that'll come back and affect you as you hit the 6th, 7th, 8th and later rounds?
Well, it's...
when you know he's got the power.
Yeah, it's a matter of just saying it as it is, you know, and the reputation says and records say that he is the bigger puncher, you know, and admittedly he is the bigger puncher. But overall, I've got a lot more attributes than this guy. You know, that's his big asset. He claims he's this tremendous technical fighter. You know, he throws punches correct and all this, but it doesn't matter, you know, because overall, my attributes, I've got more attributes than this guy. Okay. Speed, fitness, timing, combination punching, and that will be enough to win the fight. You know, it's just avoiding his power. At times he is going to land clean, but it's how I react. And at light heavyweight, there wasn't a problem. So
is your game plan hopefully to have the fight settled before you get into the later rounds, or is it of no effect?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a 12-round fight. This fight could go 4 rounds, 6 rounds, 8 rounds, or 12 rounds. But it's how you adapt in that fight, and that's where you're training. You know, you're training to adapt to different styles when you get hit, haven't shown. How you come back. So I'll adapt in the fight.
Something you haven't shown before.
It just seems a worry to think that if you were heading into the later rounds and you know this man's got power, and he's coming towards you. But if you've got the mental strength to handle that, I suppose that's.
It's the same in any fight. Any fight, when you're tired, maybe in the second half of the fight, you know, and you've got another opponent in front of you trying to take your head off. You know, it's always going to be a risk. It's how you
doesn't get tired. He's an
preparation
athlete.
gets you through it.
Athletes like him don't get tired. He's an athlete. He doesn't get tired.
Nathan and Tony all set to rumble in the Northwest on November the 22nd. But 40 years ago today, there was a very, very famous pairing who rumbled in the jungle. Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, of course, putting on one of the most amazing fights in boxing history. Up next, the memories from one of the men who was ringside.
I've covered, I don't know how many world title fights on every continent, and that fight is embedded in my memory. Nothing compared with the atmosphere in Zaire in October 1974.
Welcome back to this ringside special. Nathan Cleverly, Tony Bellew, Eddie Hearn, and a studio audience are with us.
Enjoying yourself, boys? How's the ride going so far? Nathan?
All good, mate. All good. It's part of the business, isn't it? The hike job. It's great. Enjoying it.
Tony,
It's not hype, fella. It's not hype. It's not a business. It is what it is. Me, because I've got to be.
Eddie, you're the man in the middle. Who do you think's top side in this war of words so far?
Well, I think that Tony's always a very emotional character. Interesting, one point I did take from the psychologist earlier on is the burning of nervous energy. And I think he done that himself against Isaac Chilemba in the first fight. Nathan seems to be a little bit more cool, but I think we talked on it earlier. I think tactics in this fight is about so much more than tactics. It's about holding it together, it's about emotion, it's about will to win, it's about desire. These are two world quality fighters, we know that. And they'll put their game plans together, you know. Nathan with Darren and Tony, of course, with Dave. But ultimately on the night, when you've got 10,000 fans in there, in a fight that means so much, not just to their careers, but personally.
Bragging rights.
Tactics, more than bragging rights, Johnny, more than bragging rights. You know, tactics are always important, but it's going to come down to a little bit more than that.
You're back in Liverpool, in the Lions' Den again. Are you going to be able to cope with it a second time round? And how do you win this fight? Because it's vital, Nathan, for you.
I'll deal with it. And you know, I dealt with it, like I said, I was 24 when I dealt with it the first time. You know, 24 years of age, going into his hometown. I'm more experienced now, more mature as a person, as a fighter, more experienced, more ring time. So I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. And you know, I've got no issue with that. You know, I've fought in Liverpool. This is the 5th time. This is the 5th time going back to Liverpool. I've had a great reception there before. It's not going to be no different.
Tony, how do you exact revenge?
Just show up on November the 22nd and you'll all see. Simple as that, Adam.
Well, let's wind back the clock now to one of the most important events in heavyweight history. Britain's long-serving and esteemed boxing writer Colin Hart remembers being in Zaire 40 years ago for the Rumble in the Jungle.
Zaire was the most bizarre event I've ever covered before or since. Here we were in Central Africa, and with the most vicious regime, one of the most vicious regimes that Africa's ever seen, presided over by President Mobutu. I was taken, along with all the other media, on a tour of the Maida 20th stadium where the fight was being held, and up against, there was one wall, a whole wall, high and wide, full of bullet holes. And we said, what is that? And they said, well, I'm afraid President Mobutu had the dissidents and anybody else he didn't like put up against a wall and shot. So that's the sort of environment we went into. The people of Zaire were wonderful. They were very warm, very friendly. They spoke 2 languages, of course, I think Swahili and French. So there was a bit of a language problem. But of course, one phrase that everybody could understand was Ali Boumaye, which literally translated meant Ali, kill him. They were so pro-Ali and anti-Foreman. They hated Foreman because when he arrived in the country, he got off the plane and he had his German Shepherd dog with him. But of course, that was anathema to the Zaire, because when the Belgians colonised the country and ruled it, one of the things they did was to let loose German Shepherd dogs on the population if they ever got out of hand. Foreman back then was not a very nice guy. He's not the avuncular, Buddha-like figure he is today, all smiles and jokes. He was a very sombre, sullen, rude guy. He hated the media. So we didn't like him very much. He was 25 years of age. He'd had 40 fights. He'd won them all, 37 by knockout. Ali, as you know, had been exiled for 3 years and made a comeback. He was 32 years of age, and a lot of expert opinion felt that not only would Ali be beaten, but they feared for his health. In fact, some went as far as to say he might get killed in there by this young man. We couldn't get a telephone call back to our offices out of Zaire for love nor money. It just didn't work. So we sent our copy back by telex. And we'd go in the telex office, and there were no telex operators there because they were all asleep. And so we complained to the press chief, who had a wonderful name, Chimpumpu wa Chimpumpu. The complaint went right up to Mobutu, and he issued an edict. And it said very simply, the next telex operator found asleep when he should be on duty will be shot. So there they all were from then on, beavering away like crazy. The only problem was, very often they used to send the copy to the wrong place. And Neil Allen of the Times, his preview of the fight, 2,000 words, ending up in a Cambridgeshire fertiliser plant, not in the Times office. None of us had ever been at ringside for a fight at 4 a.m. And of course there were 50,000, at least 50,000 people in the stadium. The atmosphere was electric. I was the only British boxing writer to tip Ali to beat Foreman. And I thought his tactics would be to dance around the ring and tire Foreman out that way. And of course he did for a couple of rounds, but even Ali knew that he couldn't keep up that pace in that heat at his age, so he adopted what became known as the rope-a-dope. He went with his back to the ropes, which were pretty loose, and he allowed Foreman to beat up on him, particularly to his body. But he's very clever, Ali was very clever. He avoided most of those shots to the head by slipping them, just moving his head to side, but he took a tremendous pounding to his body. And as the fight progressed, you could see Foreman, it was like somebody had turned off a tap. All his energy was draining out of him. Ali had bided his time, and when he really knew that Foreman was totally spent, then he sprung into action. And I will never forget the final two punches, the left to the jaw followed by the right cross, and Foreman spinning round and then dropping to the canvas on his back. It was astonishing scenes and an astonishing end, and of course Ali milked it for all it was worth. I've covered, I don't know how many world title fights on every continent, and that fight in Zaire is embedded in my memory. It is the greatest, most bizarre event I've ever covered.
How lucky is Colin Hart? What an event that would have been to be at.
Yeah, I've watched this fight over a dozen times. I was only 7 years old at the time, and my old man thought Ali was going to get turned over. I can remember him listening to it on the radio, making noise downstairs between 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. He couldn't believe what had happened. You boys weren't even a twinkle in your parents' eye at the time, but that fight is going to be so inspirational to any fighter, Nathan.
Yeah, and he's just a genius, you know, inside the ring, special, and outside the ring, the way he talked. Just a genius, boxing genius.
Tony, you're a bit of a boxing historian, so I'm quite sure you'll have studied this left, right and centre.
It was an amazing event, and it's even more amazing to think that everybody showed up and Foreman got injured, and that fight actually got delayed by 6 weeks. Foreman got a cut in sparring, and everybody stayed there for 6 weeks longer. Amazing things happened that night, and I'd say Muhammad Ali is probably the greatest man ever to box, in my opinion.
Amazing stuff. We have a whole host of build-up programming coming up over the next 3 weeks ahead of our next big one. Next week on Ringside features world champion Scott Quigg and Jamie McDonnell, plus Anthony Joshua and Michael Sprott go head-to-head. That's Thursday, 6 o'clock, Sky Sports 1. Join us for that. Then on November the 22nd, live and exclusive on Sky Sports Box Office, 2 world title fights, De Gale, Groves, Joshua, Callum Smith, and of course, cleverly, v Bellew 2. Our thanks to Eddie, to Tony, and to Nathan. Good luck, boys, with the rest of your training. Enjoy your Halloween as we close in on a frightening fight night.
Will it be repeat or revenge? I love Halloween. It's Halloween, man.
3 years ago, I went to the Echo Arena defending my world title against Tony Bellew, and the better man won on the night.
No one wants to see a rematch when a fight is one-sided. It was such a close fight that they want to see it again.
I'm looking at the devil.
If these cameras weren't on, the boxing would have already gone on.
I think the guy's got a big mouth.
I think he's a fraud. I don't think he tells the truth. And I think he lives in dream world, to be honest.
Loser? It's not even thinkable.
Enjoy Sky Sports Live. On all screens, on the go, and the best bits on demand.
It's going to be a long, painful night.
I've spanked him once, and I'm going to spank him again.
Yeah!